So welcome everyone, I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a tiny Arawak, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy, where I train people internationally in everything from psychic mediumship development to tarot to numerology to astrology to Reiki. You name it, we do it. So you can check out a full list of classes at the school website, ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com. What you have got here tonight is a free mini class. Since the quarantine pandemic hit, I've been doing 1 to 2 free mini classes per week here on my YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe and hit that bell to get alerts. Tonight is Narcs and the Intuitive, Narcissists and the Intuitive, the Neverending Saga. Why are narcissists and sociopaths always latching on to sensitive and intuitive people, the kind-hearted? This has been a phenomenon. I've absolutely been shocked watching this over the years since I really started working with the public more in spiritual work. Now, it's something I had observed my entire life because I was born into a family of narcissists. So it's been an unfortunate journey for me, but I have been amazed at how, even though I was born into it, I sometimes cannot detect where it is around me. And I really am attributing that to my high energy level that sends out a healing message to the world around me. I know that I give off a lot of healing energy, and as an intuitive and a sensitive, as an empath, that's a given. And I believe that this is why they come and latch on. I have seen it with my students. I have seen it in my family. I have seen it certainly with my friends and especially with my client base. It's been a major concern over the years. And while I've talked about it or I've brought it into my trainings, this is the first opportunity I've had in a major way to bring it to the public for free. Okay, now if this free mini class interests you, you may be interested in a training that I do called Empathic Awareness. And if you go to IvyRiveraEmpathicEducator.com, Paul, can you put that in the comments below?
I will.
You could check out a general training for empathic awareness, and that really breaks down how empathic people, especially at the 3rd and 4th levels, are shown in research, scientific research, medical research, social research, to attract more than any other group of people, sociopaths and narcissists. Okay, so if you feel that you are empathic, that class may also interest you. But today we are talking about the general public, and we are talking especially about sensitive and intuitive people. So this class really is for everyone. Now, let's talk about narcissistic people, sociopathic, potentially people, okay, and what their MO is. They tend to come at you in 2 different ways. Let's not forget that we have covert and overt. So we have people that are blatantly narcissistic. They're egotistical. They think they invented the wheel. They invented fire. They invented everything, right? They have a claim to many things, and they do appear to be excessively confident. They're loud, they're overbearing, they're childlike. If anything is taken away from them, it's like a little kid having candy taken away. You would see temper tantrums. They're very vindictive. They can't let things go, and they have no real sense of self. Everything is false. That's obvious, right? Now, you see someone like that coming at you, you're going to run for the hills. If you have any basic common sense, but it's the covert narcissism that gets a little trickier. That's the person who appears charming and is funny and is sensitive, is a good listener, is always trying to encourage you to say more, is super helpful, is always interested in communicating with others around you, your social group, your client base. This person probably comes off as actually being go with the flow and passive, cool, calm, and collected, okay? Those are the trickier ones. And for anyone out there who is on dating sites and things right now, I want to just give you a little bit of a heads up on what that might look like, okay? It is very common, number one, that they have served in the military for a brief period of time, typically about a year. Now, if they did any kind of military service or they try to over-identify as being connected to the military or service to their country, very, very loyal, plastered, crusted with American flags or what have you, whatever country you live in, they probably wouldn't have stayed very long. It's not that they actually served as much as they like to portray themselves as serving, as much as they did it for a short period or didn't actually do it at all, but try to milk it the remainder of their lives. They think that this gives them some kind of an image, sort of like being maybe a police officer or firefighter might, where they're of service to others. So be watchful of that. We would also see that they're quite comical. They are known to study comedians, especially talk shows and the night shows and things like this. They want to learn how to interact with people in a smooth manner and pull out punchlines and always sort of have the last word, or, leave it on a high note, hit those high notes. This is something that they've learned to master by watching others. And they are studying you and the people in your inner group to make sure that they are coming off as really charming. They have studied that. So you have to understand that not only have they studied watching movies, or especially like comedians, stand-up comedy, interview shows, like I said, those late night shows and things like that, where there's not only an interaction with the people, there's also comedy brought in, that they then study you. They're not only studying you whenever they're around your people, they're studying your people so that eventually they can flip that around and they can turn your people against you. They're the good guy. You're the bad guy. So pay attention to whether or not you feel that they're really observant of you. Are they a little too good of a listener? That would be a major red flag. We know with most people, they're more invested in themselves than they are with you. That's normal. That's healthy. We don't want that excessively, but the opposite direction could be a bit of a warning, okay? We also see with them that they want you to talk a lot about your traumas, your disruptive childhood, any wounds that you may have, if you would have been in other toxic relationships, even other relationships that were good for you. They want to know about all of that. They're studying. It's almost like research to them. They're collecting that information and they are making sure that soon they can use it against you as a weapon. So be very mindful of anyone who wants to hear too much or is guiding you repeatedly in that direction in conversation, even if it is by sharing themselves. So they can also mask it like they shared a little something and they get you to share a little something. So one of the techniques I've used over the years in out dating was to tell them something traumatic that had happened to me and then see how they react to it. And one of the things that we commonly see with a healthy accumulation of information in a relationship is that, there's a time and a place. So it's more natural to let things like that unfold later in the relationship. It shouldn't be the first couple things that are coming up to the surface. Just pay attention to timing on those things. All right, so let's get into it. All right, those are just a couple key things that I think you guys need to watch for is, okay, again, don't forget it could be covert or overt. Don't forget that they've studied comedians. They want you to talk about your trauma and your sensitivity so they can use it against you. They probably served in the military or they want to over-identify with the military or being of service in community in some capacity, even if they really didn't. And I think that it's also important to start taking responsibility if any of this is making sense to you already, so that you could be less of a victim in it. Say, you know what, I chose to put on rose-colored glasses when I saw those red flags. Good, you're taking your power back. That's the first step. So why are sociopaths and narcissists drawn to intuitive or sensitive healing people more than any other group? Because you are admired by them, because they don't have any of that, because they want your strength and power, and because they are coming from a low level, dark, energetic place, and the darkness always wants to take the light down and snuff it out. So ultimately, narcissists and sociopaths being attracted to you, it may be a sign that you are here as a light worker, you are a healer, you are an intuitive, you are here to do great things, and they want to prevent that from happening. It's sort of like misery loves company. Okay. They actually see you as strong. Now, law of attraction, gurus and things will tell you, well, you attract what you are, or you attract what you need, or, you attract what you're putting out. Not in this case. That is not at all it. Actually, and I talk about this in the empathic awareness training, empaths, especially at the higher levels, give off such a radiating healing energy that we automatically attract what they want, not what we are. We attract what they desperately need. They're vampires. They need that energy. They want that energy. It's basically thinking of human beings as being energy, and energy needs to be fed in order to continue to grow. So when they are looking for a food source, these negative, lower, depleting energies will come to you because you are a high valued food source. Okay. So be realistic about why it's happening. Now, another reason it could be happening, especially for those of you who are out there dating, is that you are sending out a desperate tone. I have a class up on the website called Reaching the One. If you think this is happening, you're going to want to take that class. Now, in Reaching the One, we talk a lot about what happens when you put out a certain kind of vibe, and who is attracted to that vibe. A lot of people who are looking to get married, they have this as a standard in their head that this must happen. They're looking to have children. Well, then we've got a biological time clock issue. So it's not only that that's a standard for you, it's also that the clock is ticking on that. If you are looking to merge your finances with someone before you do something simple like buy property, this is not healthy. Okay, you can have a baby on your own. We have sperm banks. We have friends. We have, maybe, gay boyfriends who would be more than happy to contribute to that. We have options. You have to remember that if you are putting out this neediness, you're going to attract these problematic narcs and sociopaths who want to victimize you through your neediness. Okay, and they will come very charming and making it look like they're ready to provide all of that. Now, if it's something like buying a house, this is not complicated. I'm in the process of doing it right. Like literally, if I can do it, anybody can do it. You can purchase property without a spouse. You don't have to have that. You need to change your perspective. And I think that there is a general sense of, especially in our country and in this day and age, of not wanting to be alone. Now, it used to be, statistically, mostly women that had that impression, but women have left the enslavement of marriage, and we are now more educated even than men. So it's now actually more men, whereas 80% of women may not be interested in marriage. So now we have this neediness, coming. So gentlemen, this should really apply to you as well. If you have a need to keep the company of someone else and you don't understand how to live independently and feel as though you are a whole individual, you're going to attract problems. So change your perspective and take that class, Reaching the One. All right, so let's talk about they are excessively flattering to you. Okay, let's start with number one. How do you know that you've attracted a narcissist or a sociopath? Number one, they're excessively flattering to you in such a way where they act like you are the most amazing thing they have ever met. You are their soulmate. Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. I love that too. Oh, that's my favorite color. Oh, really? I want to travel there. They wait and they let you say things, and they probably studied your other social media accounts and whatnot. And they're coming and pretending that those are also their favorites, that those are their goals, that you are so connected to who they are at the core, that this is nothing but destiny and fate. And they really lay it on a little thick. They really let you know that. And they could do that sort of overtly. They could also be doing that a little more covertly, where they're always available if you want a message. They're always responding to your messages. They're very eager to get together. They are the one that shows up. If you're on a dating site and you see that a lot of people are hit and miss, they're kind of ghosting, or they're a little infrequent, you can't really tell how they feel about you. This one is always there. This one has made it clear how they feel about you, okay? So they're not only excessively flattering to you, want you to believe that you are their soulmate, they're also excessively available when a normal, healthy individual should not be that available, especially early on. They may talk to you about marriage. They may talk to you early on about merging or living together, possibly even merging finances, how comfortable all of this is, how they feel that they've known you forever, how it seems like the obvious next step very early on. And the talk about marriage could also be in terms of how they have never felt that with anyone else, or they don't actually like marriage a lot, or they would never want to have kids with somebody else. It is only you. It is only you. Well, that's what we all want to hear, right? I mean, we all want to hear that we're not just like a peg in a hole for some needy person who wants someone to fill that space. We all want to hear ultimately that we are the one, okay? That this is like written in the stars. So, right? They know that. They're going to play off that. So what happens when it turns? Okay. So number one, when they're excessively flattering to you, what happens when that turns and you start to see their true colors? They use it as abuse against you. Mental and emotional abuse, sometimes even going as far as physical abuse if they can get away with it. Not only neglecting you and your needs, but really tearing down your self-esteem in those exact areas that they had once built up so beautifully. So they put you up on a pedestal. They want you to believe that they think that you are this incredible thing in the universe, that you are this incredible thing in their life, and that you are the only one. And then they start beating the crap out of you, making you feel like, I was wrong. I see who you really are now. And they will typically at that point bring in the group of people that were your people. Okay, so it's like everyone else sees who you really are. Those aren't really your friends. Your family said this behind your back. And of course, if they have any friends, and they rarely do, but if they were to have any, they would also say like, all my people think bad about you too. Okay, so it becomes mental, emotional abuse based on what they had once used in the flattery with you. Do we have any questions or comments at this point, or should I move on to number two?
Lots of comments that, a lot of people are, echoing how much this, is happening to them.
Okay.
They didn't realize it, that, how important this class is in general. And Bernadette has said, and Adrienne echoed that, she has felt stupid because she's been fooled by men and women, mostly men, who have, never detected they were narcissists. And you can't tell them, then you get hurt. And
right.
But it makes, and then you second guess yourself all the
time.
Then
you second guess yourself. Okay, so what does this really do to you long term? So this is breaking down your self-confidence. This is breaking down your self-esteem, but even more dangerous than that, it is breaking down your ability to follow your gut intuition, because now you don't know what the heck your gut was telling you. Okay, so as an intuitive, there is no bigger offense. We want to remember that, common sense and gut instinct typically go hand in hand. Now, we have another free mini class up here that will help you guys called Emotion versus Intuition. And in that free mini class up on the playlist, I talk about how your emotions, what you want, how in love with this person you are, but what happened to the passion, or you feel duped, or your self-esteem is now in the toilet in the ghetto. So you're coming from a place of emotion for a million reasons, but your emotion will typically steer you wrong in most areas of your life, not just this. And your intuition, which is never wrong, often matches your logic, your common sense. So we just want to make those two our besties while we deal and sort through this issue, or look back and get yourself the healing and finally learn the lessons that you were supposed to learn. Hold on to those two. Intuition and logic often go hand in hand. All right, so let's move on to number two. Early on in the relationship, this individual is excessively helpful to you. They are there to help you emotionally. They want to encourage you to talk about, again, past relationships or any stressors you have in your life, your work, whatever it is. They might be willing to come pick you up and drive you places. They want to take you out. They want to schmooze you. They may be very willing to, especially if it's sort of a male to female dynamic. They might be very willing to like work on your car, make sure that you don't have to lift a finger, run errands for you. They may want to help you out with your business, with your home life, with your children. I mean, you name it, they are there to lend a hand. When the average person, especially a normal, healthy individual, is pretty unwilling to give that much unless you know they're needy. Okay, they're hoping to get that back, or they're trying to lure you in. But they're unwilling to give that much until you've shown that you're going to give it. Everybody that's healthy should expect balance and reciprocity. Okay, that overgiving is a major, major red flag. Now, when that turns, okay, so number 2, what happens when that excessive early on helpfulness turns? You would see that they are deliberately sabotaging times when you needed them or you were counting on them. They will destroy your birthday, any holiday, any appointment that you have. If you have a job interview, I mean, literally, you just need a day to go out. You were at a breaking point. You need to take time away for you. They will create a drama. They will disappear and ghost. They will make you think that they're cheating on you or pick a fight. They are toxic to any important situations in your life where you were counting on them or have been trained by them to need and rely on that. Okay. Now, typically, when we see it get to this point, you will want to, after the relationship is done, or if we're doing a back and forth situation with this toxic relationship, you may become obsessed with rewriting the ending. So if you had narcissistic or sociopathic parents, if you were abused in your home life, your family, a relationship, at work, whatever it is, you may become afterward unwilling to almost leave and go back repeatedly to try to rewrite that ending, to try to figure out what happened, to try to understand how could they have changed. You may even blame yourself. Was it me? Was it something I did? Can I give more? You feel almost like there's a stone that's left unturned and you keep recycling back into it. But if they're good at what they do, they know their game. And the possibility of you potentially abandoning them is something that they will not allow to happen. So if they do re-engage in it, you better believe that it's going to happen to you again. Because the biggest hit that you can ever give to a narcissist is to abandon them or to set a boundary with them or to tell them, no, thank you. I think I've had enough. Okay, so keep it in mind. Don't get tied up in that cycle. I will say this too. I've dealt, like I said, since my childhood and unfortunately had married one briefly and, had also dated a couple. That's just going to happen, especially given what I do. What I made sure I was always doing, whether it be family, it be boyfriends, it be even friends or followers, I have always made sure that I'm coming from a place of sincerity, that as soon as I see a red flag, I am owning that, and I am in the most unconditionally loving way that I can, saying, no, thank you. But when I did feel that I was being guided to give more, I would do that from an authentic place of love, not hate. Not from fear and control, but of faith and giving. And so if you come with an honest energy at all times, you will always end up being the winner, even if it feels like, you're getting kicked when you're down. Number 3, I'm going to keep this one short. Don't forget that financial abuse is a real thing. I wish we heard more about this. We hear a lot about physical abuse, always have. We hear a lot about mental abuse and emotional abuse, but we don't hear a ton about financial abuse. understand that with someone like this, they're going to do whatever they can to take advantage of your giving, or if you are financially stable, for God's sake, don't let them have passwords to any of your accounts or anything like this. But they are also prone to doing things like maybe slashing your tires or hiding your glasses or your contacts, or, creating some kind of financial ruin for you, like a bill goes missing or something like this, in order to come in and be the rescuer. They get to then come in and be like, oh, I found this for you, or I can fix that for you, or I can pay this for you. Don't forget that financial abuse may be covert or overt, okay? We just don't know which, and you want to keep track of what is happening with your finances. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Number 4, they ghost you. They disappear. They have a back and forth attitude. They're unsure now of what they really want. When they're not coming around to you, they are probably sitting alone, being pathetic as they are, but it is also possible they are working on the other victims that they have. So they keep a supply, okay? If you Google narcissism, one of the first things you'll see is that they have a supply. And that means that there are other victims that they use to feed their ego, stroke their ego, and to make you feel energetically that when they're not with you, they are with someone else. It could be happening, could not be happening, but they're just plotting on how to get other people. So you're never the only one that they're narcissistically attacking. That's for sure. Now, part of this ghosting, and this moves us into number 5, is the use of a technique called hoovering. Okay, if you're not familiar with it, you can also Google that one, or I believe I talk about it quite a lot. Did we not on the empathic awareness class? Maybe not a ton, but hoovering, okay, essentially is a technique that they're using against you where they first ghost you. They are detached. They are sort of now emotionally and mentally unavailable. They're unsure whether or not they want to be in the relationship, and maybe they go. And then they will try to suck you back in. They made a mistake, or they start just reaching out. Maybe they miss your company, or they don't even need to go that far. Maybe you have been hanging on the line and so desperate to hear from them that they know that, and they just reach out in the slightest little way. And then you feel like, oh, good, I can rewrite this ending. I could find out what happened. I could figure out whether this was all just a fantasy and I'm crazy, or this was, this was real, and why did it go wrong? And so with this hoovering technique, literally named after the vacuum cleaner, right? The Hoover. They suck you back in. So one of the most common things for me to see with my clients that are tied up with narcissists is that they're constantly contacting me and saying this person came back. And I said, I bet they did. I told you they would. I can tell you literally to the day when they will be coming back or dropping you a text or what have you to suck you back in. And I can tell you exactly when they're going to kick you again and abandon you. The hoovering technique is a long-term pattern of abuse. The goal is to get you used to it so that they come back, they suck you in, they beat you up, they leave you out in the cold, and then they go. And then they suck you back in, and you could be looking anywhere. It depends on how unstable they are. You could be looking at this happening anywhere from weeks to months to even years. They can keep a supply on the line. Any questions or comments on that? I think I would actually like to wrap it up with that, because that pretty much sums up everything that you need to know from the beginning to the end, or what needs to be the end of that type of interaction. You need to decide that you are done with it. And the one thing that you can really do, aside from cutting them off and letting them know this is not good enough for me, you rejecting them, the biggest offense to them. The other thing that you can do is to have what we call no contact. That means, their number is blocked, they're blocked from your accounts, you literally do not ever respond to a text. even if you want to cause them pain. Now, some of you may have been involved in something like this. You actually want to cause them pain. You want to let them know, no, you can't have me. That is actually feeding it too. That is feeding. You're part of the source that is giving them the energy. That means that you're getting drained of your energy. That means that you have lowered your high vibration. You're getting down in the dirt with the dogs. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Okay. So keep it high, keep it clean, keep it sincere at all times. Come from a place of faith and love, not fear and control and ego. And you will always win. You will always come out on top. You will be able to take this information and understand that you were crazy, that it did happen, that yes, none of what you were told was real, but you can understand that you were a victim of abuse, and you can then start your healing process and eventually go out and protect others from having this happen to them. Okay? So there is a purpose to all of this. Any questions or comments?
Plenty. Yeah, it's sad but healing, to see everybody, chiming in on this. How many people have been affected by this, and how similar the situations are, and that, you don't know that they're coming, and then, to hear it and you're like, oh crap, that was that. But everyone here, they're, with the sabotaging that you're talking about, very sad. Jill, Melissa, Ja'Cory were talking about how that's been happening with, like, before work or financial abuse too. Ooh. And all these things, and a lot of people too talking about family. It's their own family getting them. I just want to stop and say something, on that, because in the same way that they're sabotaging you, like, before you have to go to work, or heaven forbid you didn't have a vehicle and they were your ride, right? I mean, like, they will sabotage your money, your job, your relationships, your health, your mental well-being, everything. They will sabotage everything that you have through a repeated cycle of denigration. And they will, whether it's family or, like I said, it's a new lover coming in, they will use triangulation, getting other people to talk bad behind your back. It's super common, like I said earlier, for them to start charming and schmoozing and talking with them privately. And you think, wow, they're really fitting in with my people. Not so much. They're trying to turn your people against you. And if they have an opportunity to talk trash about you with those people, or even sleep with those people, or do God knows what with those people, they're going to use that as a way to attack you down the road. So I would be very careful with anybody who is really, really working through your network quickly and easily. Perhaps they've trained in how to do that, and there is higher motive. Now, of course, on the same note, if your family's talking trash about you, they're not worthy of being called your family. Blood is not thicker than water. Go create your own family. Good. Now you have your answers. Let them loose, right? Detox. This is an opportunity for us to detox. This is, in a way, and I looked at the narcissists I've had to deal with in my life as opportunities for me to grow. I look at anyone who acts like that and I say, how can I use this to my advantage? And I've gotten rid of some people who were not deserving of being in my circle. So use everything that they've done as an opportunity for you to grow and to become stronger and smarter and help others. Yeah. Yeah. So Danica, to get back to the family, okay. She's, her and her family have tried to cutting off the father. She said that they've thought so many times that they want to cut it off, but then they get worried thinking it's going to backfire on them karmically. And so she's worried about her karma if they cut off the dad. Well,
one of the things that the dad may be doing, or if any of you make a threat to cut someone else off, or they even become suspicious, because don't forget, they're always watching for things like that to avoid it, right? Their biggest fear is that they'd be cut off from their source. One of the things that they could do is threaten to commit suicide. They could become very depressed. They could stop taking care of themselves. I had an ex who would stop, like, cleaning the house, contributing to the children, like, literally lose his job. I mean, you name it. It was like this person's life just went into a complete and total downward spiral of self-degradation, and they try to blame it on you and make you feel like you are responsible for taking care of them. Those of you that were born into a narcissistic family dynamic, you had a parent who was a narcissist, you were the parent more than they were ever the parent. And that is a technique they're going to continue to use, that you are responsible to take care of them. I will say this. you will get karmic kickback, which is essentially bad karma, bad luck, a feeling like all of your prosperity is drying up if you cross a boundary line and help where you shouldn't. The universe doesn't care that that's your father. If you are not supposed to cross that line, if when you do it becomes a disrespect to you and your energy, it is not the self-loving thing to do, you're going to have bad karma because of it. So the karmic kickback that should be going to him will also go to you. So it's an illusion. What you said and what you guys are thinking that you'll have bad karma, you already have bad karma from doing it. You'll get free of that bad karma by setting proper boundaries.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two questions here that I'm kind of going to piggyback a bit. It's Teresa's question and Jacori's question.
Okay.
That are narcissistic people fully aware of everything they're doing? Like, can they help it? And then Jacori asks, can they ever change?
Are they aware of what they're doing? Yes, they're aware. It takes way too much planning. If you really listen to everything I said, you would know that this is basically something they've made a career out of doing, you know? It's like the equivalent of going and getting a college degree and studying on how to do this accordingly. So there's no doubt about it that they're aware. Can they change? I believe that anybody can change because we all came to Earth with free will. However, I do think that they don't want to deal with the amount of work that would be required. And because there's always a source out there available to them, probably not. You know, I've seen change very rarely with people, and I will speak from lifelong relationships, especially within my family dynamics, that I've been able to study from the time I was born. And I've watched the deceased who come through on readings who were hardcore narcissists. And I've watched long-term relationships when my clients ask these types of questions to see whether or not it's possible in the future. And I will say this, I always see the same thing. It is very rare to see any change with these people because they don't choose it. Even when they have inklings that they want to choose it, the follow through is not there. The effort, the hard work that is required really is not there. People tend to choose what's easy. And I have, in rare circumstances, seen where like someone has a near-death experience. You know, they basically have to almost die and come back to have a change in attitude. So unless it's major, probably not. Mm-hmm. We have a class called Relationships, Boundaries, and Cord Cutting up on the website that helps you to forgive, release, and convert negative into positive with any kind of relationship, addiction, sugar addiction, food addiction, people, problems in these types of relationships. And what we want to do is to be willing to cut those cords and do what the universe expects us to do, which is self-care. Taking responsibility for oneself, self-love. And that is also the most loving thing to do for that person because they need to, we need to not be enabling. Okay, so it's the most loving thing to do. And then maybe in time, you know, they can figure things out, but most likely not. We have another.
Yeah,
another
I just want to pop in. Pinta says, thank you. Tonya had said, oh my God, speak. And Melissa had said, thank you for sharing your experience and power, Ivy. A lot of healing here. And Danica was thanking you too. She's figuring it out. Prioritize us.
Prioritize us, yeah.
I like the way she said
the
that.
The answer to pretty much any problem in the world tends to come back to self-care, self-respect, self-love, you know?
Mm-hmm. So we have one from, it's an interesting one from Kelly who asked about narcissists. Are they just in a constant state of fear?
No, they're not that fearful. I mean, they've pretty much got everything at their fingertips. It's more, you know, feeding off of other people's fear, feeding off of, if you ever watch the movie, anyone who has kids or loves Disney or you have grandkids or whatever, There's a movie called Monsters, Inc. that I find totally hilarious. I'm watching you, Wachowski. The like secretary is funny. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of like adult humor in that one. Anyways, Monsters, Inc. is based on monsters who go into kids' closets at night and scare the poo out of them until they scream. And then they take that scream energy and they bottle it up and they bring it back to their like planet, their world, where they actually use it as an energy source for electricity and food and everything else, I guess. Okay. So it's sort of like that. I think of them as not being fearful people as much as they are creating fear in others, which is actually a main source of energy. So if we were to talk about like demons, or we were to talk about like negative entities in the universe, dark, energies, they also use that as a food source, like monsters, like that cartoon, like that movie. Okay, so it's a food source, and they are, even though they're humans, they identify with that dark, low energy more than they identify with what humans are meant to be. Okay, which is high vibrational energy, bringing healing and wisdom and evolution.
People are liking your Roz impression.
Yeah, Wachowski. Always watching.
Danica brought up a good point. She said, which I think is probably why a lot of people get in the situation, she's confusing self-love with selfish, and it's, I see that a lot too, with one, myself, but also in readings, people are not filling up their cup, as you like to say.
Don't we have a free mini class coming up on that? On overgiving? I think we do. Mark it down just in case. But I will make sure that I do a free mini class on that.
Yeah.
On, the difference between, it's really like ego and fear versus love. And I think we did a free mini class called like, hate less and love more.
How to hate less and forgive more.
Hate less and forgive more, where I think we talked about some of this, but I think that'll be a good one. Okay. Giving too much and the guilt that comes with it. Okay, good. I just want to say this one other thing before we take another question here too. One of the things I'm noticing is that a lot of people were portraying themselves maybe as being the caretaker to you, or they were portraying themselves as being your soulmate. And when we talk about soulmates, we're talking about work contracts in the universal scheme of things. So there is this great sense of connection, like we have cords. And any narcissist or sociopath who wants to convince you that you have those cords, that you have that kind of connection, that they know what you're thinking or they know what you're feeling, or they just intuitively know when to reach out. You have to understand that that is not the same thing as a soulmate connection. A soulmate connection is happening naturally on its own from past lives and these cords and a work contract that we have with them. But someone like a parent or a lover who's a narcissist who's doing this to you, they've just studied you to learn your cues. Okay. So don't be fooled by the source of where that type of connection is coming from, because it can feel very real. We had another question or comment?
Yeah. Okay. We have one from Cheryl Ann who said that she thinks a narcissistic evil boss cost her job, but he's so good at it, and I'm actually wondering if what I thought was abuse was me overreacting, but this is helping.
Good.
Yeah, this is...
Well, I would say this. Remember what I said in the opening here. Typically, people who are attacking you, especially in like the workplace and stuff like that, are jealous of you. They're jealous of your power, or you're a threat to them in some way. So it's very possible that this person felt that you were, maybe even threatening their position. Or I posted something on social media the other day that Spirit had just shouted in my ear, and it was that sometimes people hate you straight out of the gate because they know that you're going to be the one to see them for what they really are. And that's a big thing with narcissists too, is that they can attack you for no reason. And, they understand that you're going to be the one to out them on some level.
Ashley says that you did a quick reading for her in early May, which I think was on your live show.
Okay.
And you told her that her ex-friend was a narcissist sociopath and she blocked him. However, she's still replaying this issue over and over in her head, and she's wondering if the hoovering will happen again.
Hoovering always happens again until you have decided to go no contact. So if you were to go back and unblock, you are essentially saying, come and hoover me again. Or technically, you're starting to become the hoover. Okay? Let's not become narcissists and use their tactics as an attempt to rewrite the ending and go against them. Let's not play that game. If you felt that you were disrespected, if you felt that you were abused, if you felt that that relationship was costing you self-love and care, you shouldn't have any other questions. That's it. This is very simple, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
We can't keep ignoring red flags.
It's interesting to think that you go from hoovering into hoovering.
Oh, you go
like
from, being hoovered into hoovering if you get tied up in this cycle.
Yeah, and then it's them turning it on you and them winning.
Right. No contact is no contact. So for you to wonder how could he hoover again if there's no contact? That relies on you. So if you react, then there will be more hoovering. It's just like a science. It's just a given. Anything else?
Yeah, we have a couple. Back when you were talking about channeling someone who was a narcissist in their life, Masha had asked for the narcissist you worked with that are now deceased, what was their main life lesson or purpose for choosing to be a narcissist?
I don't know that I've spent a ton of time with them to ask them that, because I typically talk to people who are dead. Like I talk to people, my clients I'm working with. It's quick. It's to the time clock. We're getting to whatever needs to be said and the healing messages for the client. So I haven't really asked them much on that. But I do feel that with people who did despicable things when they were here on Earth, and I mean despicable, I know that everyone has an opportunity to do better. I know that free will is never taken away, and that they have an opportunity to lay that down and enter into the light and not be an earthbound spirit. They can say, I want to evolve. I want to heal. I want to heal others. I want to work. I want to finish the karma and deliver the karma that I now owe, and things like this. And I've seen far worse than this, and they've gotten in, and I just sort of categorize them all the same, is that what they had to learn was that they need to contribute something, and they can't just sit and not contribute anything. I always say pacifism is the biggest evil in the world. People who sit on the sidelines and won't actually do anything. They won't contribute toward what's right. They won't fight for what's right. It's sort of like that. It's sort of like them just passively doing what's easy and taking advantage. And now they have to do a ton of work. So it can actually be a really long process for them. Who knows how many times they're going to have to reincarnate and also come back and learn the lessons here. Because here's the other thing. We don't just go into the light and have all of our lessons learned. We can only do so much there. The Earth, this planet, is a classroom, and it's kind of like a battle zone. So often we do so much there, and then we have to reincarnate and come back here. So there's going to be a lot to that answer, probably a lot to the process. It is not immediate. It's not simple, and they definitely owe a lot. So a lot of the people that you're born with in this life who are doing good things for you, it's possible they owe it to you from something they previously did wrong. And if you don't let them do that, sometimes they actually almost stalk you, trying to give. And it's you may not like them. You may not know why, but they maybe owe you in a contract.
We have one from Chicken Mama.
Okay.
Who is asking for help. She says, I've been in a 15-year long-term narcissistic toxic relationship. How do I get out?
Well, you leave, and you have no contact. And if that requires you get the police involved, then you hide. I would even delete this from your computer, because he's probably in your computer and like watching everything you watch. So if you ever Google anything in your search history could be found, he's probably watching that. He's watching everything you watch. He's watching everything you do, especially if you're approaching a mark or you never threaten that you're going to leave. You do it silently in the night. But what you do is you hide an extra set of keys, you hide an extra backpack, you contact the police and you plan your escape. You change all of your passwords before, or at the time of leaving. And, I would strip if there's anything mutual, do it legally, of course, take what's yours, but strip all your money out of the bank account and stuff like that. And I think there are more professional people than me to talk about this, because I'm not really, I've had to do it, but I'm not there are therapists, there are people who work with women's centers and, what am I thinking? Women and children's, shelters, and there are ways. I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Those are some things that I know work. And I think that the big mistake that people make is to announce that they're leaving. And the real only reason for you to do that, if we're being honest, is to try to rewrite that ending and create some kind of change in your favor. And it's never going to happen. You're trying to fight back. And the only way to actually fight back is to create no contact. So you leave, and you literally, if you have to use a lawyer for the divorce, and you literally never contact this person about anything. And if it's going to cost you extra, you allow it to cost you extra, or you have a median who can go in between the two. Median person, yeah.
On that point, Bon said that her, boyfriend or whomever threatens to kill himself and do drugs if she leaves, and the guilt is horrible, she's saying. So
let him kill himself. I mean, not that he probably will. This is their easiest go-to. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. I said to one of my exes, I said, you know what? You'd be better off dead than not living your life and dragging all these other people down with you. If they're doing nothing but bringing toxic energy and polluting the space around them, they really should, do what they feel they need to do. But it's not that they're going to kill themselves, or they would have already. It's not that they're going to go back to drugs because you left. They're already a drug addict. They have already made these choices. It has nothing to do with you. So free your own self. Don't go down with that ship.
Right, and there's a lot of people that I can see in the feed here that are feeling stupid for falling for all these things.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Don't, like Ivy just said, don't go down with that ship. That's
don't go down with
winning. Yeah.
Here's the real thing, right? Don't enable them by staying. What have you just done? If you really love this narcissist, if you really love this sociopath, you will say, I'm going to do the most loving thing for you, and that is to cut you off, because this relationship is doing nothing but allowing you to be manipulative and toxic and take us both down. The most loving thing to do for both of us is for me to go. That is love. Let them go. Let them go, experience life, and learn. Or latch on to someone else, which is probably more likely. 99.9% of the time,
What do you
there's
say?
someone else waiting.
Not my circus, not
my
monkeys.
circus, not my monkeys.
So
Nope. No, and I remember having to tell an ex, right to his face. He threatened with suicide. I said, let's go do it. I'd love to see you, do something productive at least. Then go do it. And I felt horrible for a minute, and then I was like, let's see what he actually does, because I had given into that for years. Let's see what he actually does. And he just became nastier and more vindictive against me. That's it. And picked himself up and went and dealt with his life, and is still the same person 20 years later. Forget it.
yeah, and
No.
Jill just posted something similar where she says, I circle in the pattern of letting him make me feel like I'm leaving him at the worst time for him. So
It's always the worst time.
Yeah.
He created the worst time so that you won't leave. And then you stay and he gets better and your life gets worse. It's a trade-off. They're vampires. Yeah. It's a con.
Yeah. Tristan has a question that I think is kind of a covert.
Okay.
He's wondering if there are people with narcissistic traits and behaviors who are only partially aware or not aware at all. Like, are they covertly on themselves? Did they not know?
Well, I think I answered that earlier. They know.
They always know?
I believe that they always know. I don't think that we all know every single aspect of our personalities, or else we wouldn't be humans on Earth having a human growth experience. But I think that we get to know ourselves more and more as time goes on. And I think that with a narcissist, to generally answer this question again, yes, they know that they're being manipulative. Yes, they know that they're lying. Yes, they know that they're doing harm. Yes, they know that what they're saying is untruthful and that they have mastered some kind of untruthful response or taken an untruthful action in order to accomplish a certain end, a certain result, to win. There's no doubt that they know that, because it's like a mastermind process. They have to think about it from so many different aspects, not just what do I want, what do I want, what do I want. They're not reactionary. They are literally thinking, what do I want? How can I get it by hurting this person or tricking this person? How will that person then respond? How will I then respond? How can we come at it with plan A, plan B, plan C to get it done? There's no way they don't know that. That takes a lot of energy. No way. No, we have to be realistic about how in depth you need to look at it for what it really is. A plan. Plans don't just happen. Reactionary people who just get angry, when they see a flag for the opposite party they plan to vote for. People who are just reactionary, they're like animals, they're like children. That's a simplistic response. That is a sign that there's not a whole lot going on in there, in the head or behind the scenes. There's not a lot under the surface. This is not that.
Christine's wondering, since they're aware of this behavior, are they even capable of love? No, not in the way that you're thinking of it. Your standard of what is loving is probably based on caregiving and unconditional love, meaning you're willing to be there even if you don't passionately feel it anymore. It's a commitment that you made, right? Love is a decision, not a feeling. You would probably understand love more in those terms, and they understand love in terms of how they can get their energy fed by taking advantage of others. That is meeting their ultimate ego goals. And that's it. Love is nothing but a food source. It's a way to trick you into feeling that so that they can eat more. I just want to thank Michelle, Cheryl Ann, and Gloria, our newest members, joining tonight during this wonderful, wonderful broadcast.
Welcome, new members. If you are inclined to become a member, where is that join button? Hit the join button.
Yeah, it should be right under the video.
And if you are inclined to leave a donation, we've been doing these free mini classes 1 to 2 per week since the pandemic hit. You could do so at that link there or up on the website, ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. We do appreciate you guys subscribing, sharing, hitting that like button. Yeah, and we have tomorrow?
Yep.
Is Ask Ivy, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, where I take your personal questions or spiritual questions, and I will give your weekly horoscopes. And the next free mini class coming up is going to be depression. Where is it coming from? What can you do about it? What your therapist won't tell you. On the 29th at 8 p.m. back here. Thank you, Polly.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Spirit.